This is T. Gardner here at a different location than where I usually live. This is a house that I crash at often, and I planted right here in this tiny little basin, or tiny little planter, the Three Sisters from the Haudenosaunee tradition, the traditions of agriculture technique of corn, beans, and squash. That's the theme of this year, 2013, for T. Gardner, and we're going to be observing this particular piece as it grows. As we can see, this right here is a corn sprout. This is, they sprouted out about 4 days ago. I believe Thursday I checked on them, and they were just tiny little things starting to sprout. This one right here, I believe that's part of a bean that's sprouting. And we can see another one right here starting to sprout, this little thing right here. So I also put some cantaloupe seeds in here, but I'm not sure if that's going to grow at all. So it's now been about 2 weeks into our growing of the corn, beans, and squash. It's a little thicker than it was before, but it hasn't grown too much, and I think the main reason for that is the fact that a lot of these plants are shading the other plants, and there's a lot of other smaller plants that inhibit a lot of the growth as well. So we're going to do something. We're going to start picking out some of the less successful plants and using them as compost, something I think Anne Rand would probably agree with. Here's an example of the bean plant. You can see where the beans would be sprigging from, but unfortunately this particular bean isn't successful enough. It's a little too short compared to the other ones, so we're going to give the other ones more breathing space. Putting these up here for now. I think we might be doing another small project in this this little vicinity, so I'm going to keep them here on the ledge, and hopefully we can use them as, you know, compost and nutrients for the next plants we plan to. This right here, this is corn. So I'm going to put it down here in the first layer of the peat moss. More corn. This is also corn, and let's see. I picked out. Okay, this stuff's shriveled, but this was some of the stuff I've picked out since. Corn and beans. I don't believe there's any squash, but since this stuff has no use, being being the stuff that I had to prune, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a use. I'm going to put it in here, and this will be just in sort of the middle of our okay, corn and beans are covered up, and here we got the first seeds, first type of morning glory. This is the blue morning glory. We're going to put those, scatter them around. And then we're going to take the other seeds and put them in next. Here's the corn, beans, and squash at about 2.5 weeks. As you can see, some of the stuff is starting to shrivel. I think this is due to a combination of things. I think one of the factors is the lack of space. I've done a little pruning, taken out some of the smaller plants, but still it's got a lack of space, which was my bad. But gardening is making mistakes and learning. That's a big part of it. And the other factor I think that causes the shriveling is the cold weather we've had in Toronto. Today is May 29th, and yeah, it hasn't been very typical May weather, but Toronto combined with climate change, maybe Rob Ford has something to do with it, I really don't know, but yeah, so I'm a little worried, but hopefully the warm weather, we're calling for warmer weather, hopefully that'll be happening soon. Here's a corn, bean, and squash after about 4 weeks. Climbing vines looking alright. Little weak though, especially the one up here. Not sure why, but it looks like some parts of it aren't doing too well. I think it's mostly due to all the space. Like, I planted so much in one space that it's just strangling itself to some extent, but you know, we'll have to see how that goes. I think this right here is a pumpkin. Again, not a lot of space for a big plant, but it's growing pretty fast. Maybe we'll have it touch the rail here by the end of summer. Three sisters, corn, beans, and squash. Mixed. I feel mixed about it. We got these new developments coming here. This is a good sign. This is a sign of the corn developing, and but unfortunately, it looks like for the most part the squash isn't doing too well. I mean, here we have a squash, but we got no flower. I think the flowers kind of died. Again, we had a recent downpour, and sometimes downpours, they damage the plants, because they're brittle and everything, cause some of it to die. So we'll have to see how a few hours in the sun might rectify the situation. But, everything's in cycles. With a few sunny days, we might have. So the climbing vine is doing okay. We just had a really intense heat wave. And we got some other... Yeah, this climbing vine's not having too much luck. It's wrapping around this, but then it kind of dries up and doesn't do too well once it's attached itself. But we'll have to see, we'll have to see how that goes. You see up here, this thing's just reaching, which is what climbing vine, this thing is getting longer and longer and just reaching out. That's what climbing vines do. They just reach out for whatever they can grab hold of. It'll put it around here, see if it keeps growing in this direction. It'll do what it will, though. We got something blooming here, which is nice to see. Not sure if that's morning glory or a type of bean that I planted. Here, this cantaloupe or pumpkin, I think it's probably pumpkin. It's growing huge, but it was pretty damaged by the heat wave. You can see right here, it's not looking too good. We'll have to see what happens. It did rain the other night. It's a good sign. The Venus flytrap still has this tall thing growing out of it. I don't seem to quite know what it's going to do. Hopefully it'll eat flies one day. And finally the corn got hit really hard. And it's been like this for almost a week now. A little bit more than... Actually, it's been like this for more than a week. Which is really too bad. But we can see some of the corn developing here. Let's see here. I can feel it underneath here. I can feel the corn just up to here, and just up to here about. So yeah, squash here is all died off, and the beans I think have all died off as well, for the most part. Yeah, here's a bean right here that I think just shriveled right up. Look at this. This is a mummy bean. Look at that. Oh, here's more. Yeah, the beans did not do too well. I don't know if there's anything that can nurture them back to how they were before at this point. Just too bad. Yeah, we got little bean seeds. I've plucked these corn husks, and let's take a look inside and see what we've got here. Here we can see just the beginning. We got a few pieces of corn. There we are. Look at that. Literally, it's the growth has been retarded, unfortunately. But here we can see what would have been more of the pieces of corn right here. Scaredy cat. Look, looks like I've come across some other good news. I think this is some other kind of bean that's grown here. Look at that. Wow. Really amazing. It's really been a neat year. It's too bad about the corn, beans, and squash. As we saw earlier, I did manage to get some corn out of it. but not really great corn, which is too bad. We got some beans here earlier. The squash didn't turn up. I really think the squash needs way more space than this. We got some flowering here though, that's nice. This is part of the squash plant. We got some beans here in the climbing vine, at least earlier in the season we did. Oh yeah, here they are. They shriveled up in the heat wave. It's been a rough summer. We had a heat wave, we had extreme cold for summer, and we also had, we just had totally differentiating sort of weather patterns. Completely weird. It's Toronto and it's climate change, so we're going to get a lot of weird stuff. But I do like these. We've got these huge red beans here. I just put these, I don't even know, we're probably going to eat these, but I just like having them on display too. Neighbors can walk by and kind of see these things, and just raises the conversation about urban gardening in general and how people can save so much money by harvesting their own produce in their own spaces that aren't traditionally meant for gardening per se, but we can transform our sort of urban environment. And it's rough with the climate and everything, but when the price of food gets nothing but higher and higher, sometimes that's going to be a good way to go. It's T-Dot Gardener. We'll see what we got here next season. There's some more videos coming. We're not done this season. And again, this winter I'll try to get some greenhouse videos going. Anyway, T-Dot Gardener, keep paying attention.